First monetary policy meeting for the year begins in Abuja. Federal government to source forex from Dangote Group. Bulls remain dominant in Nigeria's equities market. Business Express is reaching you live from the nation's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now let's bring you up to speed with business development. 5 million is the number of new taxpayers drawn into the nation's tax net during the Voluntary Assets Income Declaration Scheme, VAIDS, with revenue amounting to 92 billion naira generated during the amnesty period. Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed made this disclosure in Lagos when she met with Business News editors. What does this mean to the Nigerian economy? Abolade Salami tells us.
Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed, while speaking on the nation's economic updates and immediate fiscal policy priorities of the federal government, said efforts are in top gear to address the zero revenue from privatization, as the Ministry of Finance is working with the Bureau of Public Enterprise towards fast-tracking the process. She reiterates that government will not use borrowed money to pay for recurrent expenditure.
NMPC expenditure on fuel subsidy is not a capital expenditure, and we did not and we will never use borrowed funds to pay for recurrent expenditure like fuel subsidy.
The 3.01% GDP projection in the 2019 budget and debt service obligation of about 25%, she maintained, can be met with an increase in revenue generation.
The ERGP, as well as the 2019 budget, projects that Nigeria's GDP will be closing at 3.01% by the end of 2019. What this means to us is, we're saying this is a growth target, but what do we have to do to get there? And then it's broken down into what each sector has to contribute, and we have to now drive implementation on a sector-by-sector basis so that the contribution leads us to this growth. So when you look at the budget, the debt service obligation performance is supposed to be 25%. But because the revenues are underperforming, it results to an average of 50%. So what we have to do is to address revenue. And we're embarking on several revenue initiatives.
The recent World Bank Human Development Index report, the Minister of Finance further said, is not encouraging. Therefore, government is working assiduously to reverse this through infrastructure and human capital development.
We're feeding children in school, and today we have reached up to 9.5 million people. This is in 2.5 years. Brazil, that has the most aggressive social investment program in the world, when we visited them in the second quarter of last year, the numbers they had covered was about 41 million people, and they have been doing this for about 40 years. So we have the fastest growing social investment program in the world today.
She expressed the federal government's determination to further reposition the economy on the path of higher, inclusive, diversified and sustainable growth.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria is holding its first meeting this year on Monday, 21st and Tuesday, 22nd January 2019. Although the Monetary Policy Committee has kept the policy rates at the current levels since July 2016, experts say maintaining rates is still advisable considering the prevailing political situation in the country. At its last meeting in November 2018, the MPC maintained the monetary policy rate at 14% with asymmetric corridor at plus 200 and minus 500 basis points around the MPR. It also retained the cash reserve ratio and liquidity ratio at 22% 0.50% and 30%. Abolade Salami is in our Lagos studio. Abolade, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Musa. Good afternoon and welcome to Lagos. Joining me in the studio to take a look at the MPC's meeting that is underway in Abuja and the banking sector prospect for 2019. I have Dr. Uche Olowo, who is the president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Doctor, thank you for joining us on Business Express.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Doctor. Let's take a look at the MPC's meeting that is coming on the way. We've seen that the rate has been maintained since 2016. What would you say is responsible for this?
Well, the point clearly for the managers of the economy is clear. You're managing price stability. You also want to foster growth. Yes, if you cut interest rate, it means that you want to encourage lending, credit growth, and all that. But on the other flip side too, you're having to battle with inflation and exchange rate. So clearly for them, you have to look at that option that is, very feasible. And of course, price stability remains key, and that they have done to maintain that price stability.
Okay, Doctor, what would you say are the likely factors to shape this year's decision?
Well, there are a lot of issues that that will shape 2019 outlook. One, you have normalization policy by the developed economy, which we're told that likely interest rate got to increase in the United States and so other developed economies. And then you also have the issue of the crude oil price and production. OPEC decided to cut down the production, so that likely is going to affect revenue. Then you also have issue of prices been hovering around 60 because of action of the United States, and then of course you have the trade wars between the two developed economy, China and United States. All this put into on the external perspective will have impact on how the economy, the local economy runs. So because we're not in isolation, so what do you expect? You'll find a situation where there will be revenue pressure as a result of cut down on the production volume, and as well as the price. Except something happens, you're going to have the price is going to hover around that 60, 50, 60, and perhaps 65. Even though nobody can really predict how the oil price will go. It's an established principle, because I've attended a situation where a major IOC said, oh, the price was going northwards, and just shortly after it went downwards. So now that's it's a volatile commodity.
Exactly. So the oil is going to
because even right now, where people are expecting the price will come down,
yes,
I see that the IOCs are putting more investment, because right now there has not been investment in finding new reserves and all that. So that if there is a hit, if something is not done, there could be a problem. So you also still see that there will be investment in terms of finding new reserves, increasing the reserve capacity. Of course, Nigeria is in dire need of that. Some consumption, certain consumptions. I was happy when the governor of Central Bank said he might add some other commodities to save these commodities. Those ones that are the commodities that have some kind of level of substitution, so that conserving our reserves and at the same time increasing productivity. Because right now, all this put together, how will you have more pressure on the fiscal side than on the monetary? Because what is happening, the factors that are impacting on the economy cannot really be solved totally with monetary policy, okay? Because if you're looking at growth, growth, certain fundamentals needs to be there, and that investment in critical infrastructure is very critical. Because if you want to do growth, right away, as we're talking now, the projected growth is lower than the population growth. So what do you expect? There's going to be a lot of pressure that monetary policy cannot do. Okay, so certain aspect, critical infrastructure, investment in critical infrastructures like roads, railway, and then perhaps power, which is of course the most important, one of the very important ones. So, but the government has been investing. So let's say 2019, we'll begin to see the fruit of those investments, especially if those rail projects, some of them are completed, so that can ease transportation, because it's very critical.
Okay, I've been speaking with Dr. Uchelo, the president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. That's much we can take from Lagos. It's back to you, Musa, in Abuja.
The Nigerian Stock Exchange had a bullish run in the week ended Friday, the 18th of January 2019. Moplan Dakok takes a look at how equities perform.
Trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange maintained a positive trend, with the NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization appreciating by 3.94% to close last week at 31,005.17 and 11.562 trillion naira. 38 equities appreciated in price during the week. 29 equities depreciated in price, while 102 equities remained unchanged. 1.270 billion shares worth 13.46 billion naira in 16,476 deals were traded in the week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.1 billion shares valued at 10.5 billion naira traded in 10,352 deals. The consumer goods industry followed with 37.7 million shares worth 1.6 billion naira in 2,054 deals. The third place was occupied by the conglomerates industry with a turnover of 37.6 million shares worth 102.9 million naira. Also traded during the week were a total of 55 units of exchange traded products ETPs valued at 5,610 naira executed in 2 deals, and a total of 3,573 units of federal government bonds valued at 3.764 million naira traded in 24 deals. All other indices finished higher with the exception of the NSE Banking Index, which depreciated by 1.04%, while the NSE ASEM Index closed flat.
Moving on, what is the market saying today? Trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange began the week by closing in red on Monday, 21st January 2019. The all-share index and market capitalization lost 0.88% to close at 30,732.72 basis points and 11.460 trillion naira. Investors engaged 499.2 million shares valued at 5.5 billion naira in 3,874 deals. Shayinde Adenegbe of Standard Union Securities joins us to discuss the equities market. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, last year was not so favorable for investors in the capital market, and last week we saw a sharp rise. Is it safe to say that recovery is on the way?
Thank you very much. For now, it is really not good enough to say that the recovery is here with us. Okay. But what transpired last week, just to tell you that, well, a lot of stocks are very low in price, and some large-hearted investors felt that these shares, these stocks, if they are left the way they are, come end of elections, you might not find it that low again. So they have to take some positions, you know.
Okay.
That's
Why do you say they may not have to come?
Yeah, meaning that you might not find them as low as they were. So it is better for them to take position
so it's an opportunity.
It is an opportunity for investors to really, you know, enhance their portfolio, because whatever comes, Nigeria remains, and the market is always there.
Okay, what's the class of equities responsible for the rally?
You know, usually the financial stocks are always in the forefront. The banking subsectors are there for you. The consumer goods and the conglomerates, they are always there. So these are the ones. For example, last week, the financial stock had about 89% of traded stocks and turnover there. So they are always there because of the patronage in that sector. Many investors, that is their toast as well. So they want to invest there, and they are still watching with keen interest to see where we are going.
Okay, particularly what class of stocks should investors take advantage of?
Oh, the banking subsectors. You know, when we mention stocks, for example, stocks like you know what is happening between Diamond and Access, and people are considering the low price of Diamond is more or less the toast of the market. They are buying into it heavily. Stocks like Zenith Bank is also there. Guaranteed Trust is there as well, and First Bank is doing. They are all doing well because the prices are still very low, and the earlier you go into them, the better for you, because I can let you know that no matter what comes to Nigeria, by the time these companies will be reeling out their end of year results, they are going to do well, no matter what happens.
Okay, the monetary policy meeting is the monetary policy committee is meeting in Abuja. Do you see the outcome likely to affect the market?
Definitely it will, because it will detail the direction of the economy as well. But all I know is that I don't foresee a situation where there will be a jack-up in the interest rate, because if the interest rates are increased, definitely it will only affect the market negatively. Reason being that many investors, they want to tilt towards the money market where they feel it is secured and they have a guaranteed returns. But if it is retained or lower, I can tell you that there will be more activities in the stock markets.
Okay, does the recent rally in the oil market, global oil market, have any hand in the rise we saw?
You know, Nigeria, whatever you can call it, is still a mono economy. The oil still controls the entire bulk. So whatever happens to the oil sector will have a reverberating effect on all segments of the economy. So it is part of it, definitely. Also, you have to note that we have so many of oil companies being traded on the floor. So it is really a factor.
Okay, let's talk about global market. How have you seen activities now? Is there activities in the global market likely to affect stocks in Nigeria?
Definitely. You know, there's no economy that can be in isolation. Thank God the Cold War between the US and the China, the two major economies, is fizzling out gradually. There is a reassurance that they are going to settle their differences in terms of their tariffs, and this has led to the market, you know, having a kind of a confidence that, well, the board of the market will not be rocked badly this time around. More so that you have investors all over the world. Nigeria is a global economy. I mean, the capital market in Nigeria is a global one. People, foreign investors that have gone before, I can tell you that many of them are just still watching. They are almost here now.
Okay. What should we expect in the short and long run?
Yeah, in the short run, I can tell you that it's still a fragile hope for now, being that the general election coming up, like any other country, Wherever there is general elections coming up, there is agitation, there is fear, there is, uncertainties. But all I can just tell you is that it's just for a while.
Okay.
Whatever happens, whoever wins, whoever is retaining the power, I'm telling you, the investors will come. Why people are not really coming into the fold is just because of the uncertainty. There could be crises here and there, but all the same, it will be resolved. So my hope is that Nigerian capital market is a place to be, and the earlier time to come is now.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Seyinde Adinegbe of Standard Union Securities.
Thank you very much.
Well, okay. U.S. stock and bond markets on Monday will be closed in observance of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, providing a natural pause after a bullish tilt on Wall Street to start 2019, while Asian stocks rise. Amina Dujem has details.
Major buses in Africa ended last week higher at the back of positive investor sentiment. South Africa's JSE Top 40 gained 0.61% at 47,585.02. Kenya's Nairobi SE20 climbed 1.96 points to close at 2,851.77. Tunidex and Nairobi overall also gained 0.04 and 0.42%. while Ghana's JSE Composite shared 0.16% for the week. Stocks rose on Friday as investors shared potential progress in trade negotiations between China and the US. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 336.25 points to end the week session at 24,706.35. The S&P 500 climbed 1.3% to 2,670.71. The Nasdaq Composite advanced 1% to close at 7,157.23. In Europe, the German DAX, Frank's CAC 40, and United Kingdom's FTSE 100 all traded in positive territory. In Asia, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 1.25%. On the Chinese mainland, the Shanghai Composite gained 1.42% at 2,596.01, while in Japan, the Nikkei added 263.80 points to close at 20,666.07.
Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has said that any failed instant payment transaction not reversed into the customer's account within 24 hours after complaint by the sender or beneficiary should be reported to it. The Director of Consumer Protection Department, CBN, Mr. Kofo Salam Alada, said that the CBN had mandated banks to pay a fine of 10,000 naira to customers for each failed transaction not resolved within 24 hours. The directive was contained in a circular published in September 2018. He said Nigerians should report to the Apex Bank any such infractions for appropriate sanctions on erring banks and other financial institutions that abuse the system. The federal government will soon start sourcing foreign exchange from Dangote Group as soon as the latter's refinery, petrochemicals and fertilizer projects come on stream. Central Bank Governor Mr. Godwin Emefiele disclosed this at the weekend. He premised his comment on the huge forex earnings that are expected to accrue from the export of the petrochemical and fertilizer products from the refinery and fertilizer plants by the time the fertilizer plant begins operations in May this year and the refinery takes off as planned in 2020. Let's see how the Naira is trading alongside other major currencies. That brings us to the end of this edition of Business Express. Don't forget to send us your feedback via email businessexpress@nta.gov.ng. You can also reach us on our Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now, and the hashtag is BizExp. Enjoy the rest of the week. I am Musa Abubakar.